The following video is a review of me downloading a Rust Legacy client. Rust Legacy is a video game that was available from Christmas time 2013 to Christmas time 2016. It was distributed through Steam, and it was developed by Facepunch. This is about Rust Legacy Sem Grama. That's how it's referred to as, which just means no grass. And it contains, very prominently displayed in the upper left-hand corner, booster by freekill and motion. The hotkey for getting at that is the down arrow, which is extremely unfortunate sometimes, depending on how you set up your keyboard. And it constantly shows the frame rate and the booster by freekill and motion, which other versions had the same thing, but when you did that, you could disable or enable the FPS and also turn off the logo of it. This is very likely stuck into a mouse cursor DLL or something like that where they put it in. The idea with these extra utilities is you put it into one of the many subroutines or sets of subroutines, dynamic link libraries of them, and put in extra features like maps, hacks, whatever. And this one includes a standard set of things for that booster. It contains 6 dedicated buttons to go to a certain server. All 6 don't work. There's another one for just exiting, and all of this is either in Portuguese or Spanish or whatever. It, on exit, will hang up sometimes. It doesn't like the modern, more current versions of classic Rust Legacy you find on RustuJ or some of the others where they've implemented a couple of extra features and maybe a little bit better capability to be stable and maybe not as much lag. It will work on outdated old school type servers, and the file set contains 401 megabytes for the RAR file. It was uploaded from Brazil on 2026 April 3rd. The current year. And it was about noon, I guess, GMT or whatever. The newest file edit is in the config file, and it's pretty much standard what you would expect. The bundles directory contains 2014 July 11th file set, which is very common for modded versions of the clients and even servers. The 2014 version was a little bit more forgiving, and again, as I stated, may or may not have contained the ability to reinsert content from the 2013 version, like some of the stuff that was removed, like an entire rad town that was removed, or add in extra features like, hey, maybe you'll be able to see, a satellite antenna or a power pole that was in the game that was never used. These are all, I have a video where I talk about the sources for these models, for instance. The 2014 July 11th files are in bundles, Rust data, and Unity built-in extra as a mod or area they're found in. Next, we have 2015 files, Christmas time, in Rust data managed, which is where most of the DLLs that are usually used for altering exist. And we have a 2019, that'll be significant, June 16th Facepunch.Cursor.dll, which appears to be the one that has the booster built into it. And you just invoke a key and it just happens to use the key functions as well, which is cool. When you go into the menus, there's nothing to turn off the frames per second display or get rid of the booster by freekill and motion notice that I can find. I could be wrong. Rust data plugins and Unity default resources are from 2014, June 18th. So it's kind of all over the place. It was a edit towards the end. Now, this is very similar to one I did a video about that was the Bullzher 2019 420 megabyte. This one's like 400 megabyte. But the 420 megabyte Rust Legacy 2014 one that came with an FPS booster by Nitrous X1, raw, freekill, and motion. And it was done for the project they were calling Wasteland, which was a remake of a previous project. It was 420 megs plus, And I have a video about it. I'll link the link below. And that video I put up was in 2025, September 26th. Also worth mentioning, maybe, because it came up when I looked it up on my own channel, was Athena's Guard 2025 version that failed to work and is based on YouTuber Bullzher's, again, Bullzher's, 2019 modded Rust Legacy 2014, but that one was jacked up to 666 megabytes and expanded out to over a gigabyte of stuff when it didn't need to. It was a bunch of blank files. And again, there's some similarities. So basically, the nitrous, raw, free kill, motion combination of those four gamers was the one that is most likely this is based on. And in fact, I'm downloading it again just to compare them. But anyway, here are the pluses and minuses. It does have only one file that, as perpetually will happen, claims to be a virus, a game hack. Something that makes it to where it works without having Steam work, because again, Steam stopped distributing it, and for the most part, it won't work unless if you get a copy of it, unless you run it with Steam, but it might not work because you don't authorize through Steam or whatever, so this gets around that so you can play the game. Because again, this has been abandoned as of 2016 December. And some people say even earlier. And that's Steam_API.dll. Potentially unsafe application GameHack. And virus scanning companies are required to label it that way because the companies don't want you using pirated software. Again, this is abandonware. This is the only way to get it to work sometimes. And it's the only way to make it reliable. And it's the only way that Facepunch and Steam can't technically kill it. Same thing with the server files. I'm going to be reviewing a server file set in a while too. So here we go with the basics. Anything using a slightly updated or better version of the Rust Legacy file set, let's say after 2019, well actually it's more like 2024, a lot of them altered themselves to where they were more tolerant of going on servers that had heavy modifications to them as a default, and that just kind of became the standard. And currently that's available through rustuj.cz and rustlegacy.eu. And I have yet to be able to update the Rust Legacy EU version because they don't just put up the updated version for you to download. They make you have to run the updater that just doesn't want to work to download something, because I guess it's expecting that I'm running Windows 11 or something. It'd be nice to know the answer to a question I asked 4 months ago. So anyway, so where did I find this? MouraTv, April 5th, 2026 video that ends in LAHJC. Linked also to a Discord that ends in U6JJ, uppercase, lowercase. And it suggested net.connect to nostalgic, rust.duck.dns.org, and then it was the standard 28 or other number 015. This was a fail. It didn't even respond, and that was, I mean, MouraTv, if you're watching, yeah, it's down or whatever. But it was able to load on some of the generic ones, but not Rustuj-based servers, not servers that were doing any enhanced functions, or would encourage you, if you had a proper client, to hit the F5 button to get something up. I tried all the different keyboard combinations I could come up with, and it didn't bring up the other usually available menu that would pop up besides our booster, FPS booster, to bring up things like turning on and off the FPS readout and turning off the logo that would usually be existent, because it's nice, if you're going to do one of these things, to make it to where the client, the user, has a client, the game, called client, able to turn these features off so that they can video record themselves playing the game, and it's not all about your add-on or hack. And it has the standard thing like a Minecraft button that just shuts off as many features as possible to get the thing running as fast as possible. It defaults to turning off showing grass of any kind, and it has the function of putting everything into poster board mode so that, I mean, you can get some really good frame rates out of it, even if you do or do not enable VSync. And that's okay. It does what it says on the tin. I just wish it would just remove that logo and that message and just be generic. just, to make it weird. And again, as advertised, it just removes the grass, and that's the primary feature. No explanation of what keyboard key to hit, so it's a down arrow. And the MediaFire link for it ends in 44q5, and it's called Rust Legacy Sem Grama.rar, which just means no grass, which is a common thing to disable. I want to point out that if you have a reasonably fast computer, even a crappy video card like I have, you can leave the grass on and that sort of thing, but if you really desperately need the frame rate improved and maybe reduce the lag spikes, maybe this can help a little. It depends on the server you're on, that sort of thing. But it's not able to be updated because this one isn't able to be updated with whatever is needed to work on RustUj or whatever. Now, a little bit of technical details. When you do something like this on this game, you'll do something like net.connect space a name of a domain name or an IP address. It doesn't matter one way or the other. And then it'll have a colon, and it'll have numbers like 28015, that sort of thing. And then sometimes it'll have an extra colon where you can put in an extra character, like usually it's defaulted to 0, but it could be some other number. That's an extra sub-port number. I don't know what else to call it because it's a bit non-standard. And those are used for accessing things like Rust Roam. They use that for it so that they can have an extra way to keep people out that aren't using the right version, etc. I don't know. But this one is not updated enough to do even the normal-ish ones that don't do that. So that's it. So conclusion on this one that was an April 5th and or April 4th upload at 400 megabytes, is it usable? Yes. Does it set off a virus scanner alarm? Yes, it does, because almost all copies of the game have a patch or hack that have been designated to be something you need to be alerted about, even though mostly it's just a scare tactic, so you won't use, patched copies. And again, there's no way to legitimately buy it anymore, really. There just isn't. There was, and there is technically, but it's technically, and it involves dealing with Steam just allowing you to download it. And for a long time, I have a video I'm going to be making about it. At one point, like 2014 or whatever, Facepunch just to let you download it. You were going to have to use a Steam account to make it work, but you could download the server and client, and they were free. The software was free. The access was what you paid for through Steam. And then when they disassociated with it entirely, you had to upgrade to the newer version, which most people just went ahead and did. And you can still play the old version, and you can still do it. Technically, some people are able to do it with Steam. So the thing is that you got to make sure you either have an unpatched version and it's Steam compliant, and maybe it still works. I haven't seen anybody definitively explain that. Or you download the one that has this file added to it that's just a modified version of it replaces and is modified version of the Steam API.dll file. So, conclusion. Is this worth downloading? It's 400 megs. It gives you some extra features that are also able to be accomplished, for the most part, satisfactorily by just turning off extra features in the config file. The Minecraft mode, however, is fun. But there's a better version of it, and I'm going to be testing it out today to make sure it's still what I think it is. I'll put a note in the video. Yes, the other version that's linked in the vid that's from 2025 that I made, or the other, whichever one actually works a little bit better, or is it just the same? If I say it's the same, then okay, they're equally bad. But this one is not updated enough to work on the most popular servers currently, which are on rustuj.cz, and it doesn't want to cooperate on some things, and it hangs on exit. And is it necessary? No, you can just download the one from rustlegacy.eu or rustuj.cz. Either one will work just fine, and honestly, you'd probably be better off. And they have updated lists of all these servers, so you can actually find servers with the server menu, the server lister, rather than having to hand type stuff or cut and paste stuff from a text file. And again, this one doesn't even work for the one that was suggested for it. But it does work technically, and it's not really got any viruses, and okay. So it's meh. Will I run it? I immediately erased it after I got done because it doesn't offer me any extra value compared to the ones I have. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Hope this was useful to you and someone else too.